Here's something that you might not know. In the United States, you can be an elected representative in Congress, and you could be having committee meetings, meeting with lobbyists, passing legislation that affects different segments of the economy, and you can be buying and selling stocks that will be directly and predictably affected by your actions or inactions. Is that crazy? Like, that literally is totally legal. There's nothing wrong with it. And most people don't even know about it, let alone talk about it or make political decisions based on it. But that might be changing. There have been some little attempts in the background in the last few years to possibly change that legal situation. And we have a new one coming. And joining us now to break it down is the senior Washington correspondent for Insider, returning once again, Dave Levinthal. Thank you, as always, for being here.
Hey, great to be with you, John.
Great to have you here. So Senator Elizabeth Warren wants to do something about stock ownership, right?
She sure does. She wants to get rid of it. She wants to ban it for members of Congress. So effectively, if you're a senator, if you're a member of the House, and you own individual stocks, might be an AT&T, might be an ExxonMobil, she wants to prevent you from doing that. Now, she says that, hey, it's okay if you want to have a mutual fund or some index traded fund, that's okay. But if you are, in fact, a member of Congress and you are going to those committee hearings that may have some sort of an effect on the way that business is conducted in the country, the way that businesses are taxed, the way that the government interacts with businesses, and that this should not be happening. And also, too, she wants to apply that not only to members of Congress, but apply that to other top officials, the President of the United States, top judicial officials, and so on and so forth.
Okay, and so this is not the first time, based on your analysis, she's actually advanced legislation similar to this in past years, correct?
She has. So you have to go back 10 years, John, to when the Stock Act became law. And what the Stock Act was originally intended to do was to do exactly this: ban members of Congress from being able to buy and sell and trade individual stocks of companies that do business with the government, that come before Congress, might even be government contractors, wanted to get rid of it. But the bill got watered down, as these things oftentimes do in Washington, D.C. And ultimately, the bill did lots of things, but one of the most important things is it said, all right, we're not going to ban this practice, but you have to disclose your activity publicly. If you buy stock, if you sell it, you're going to have to tell the public that you've done that, and do so in a relatively quick period of time. Now, that is often worked out, but not always. We've done a lot of reporting around the issue of members of Congress just simply not disclosing when they should. And Elizabeth Warren, over the past couple of congressional sessions, has advanced legislation, although it's gone nowhere, to try to ban the practice of stocks. What's different this time is that Democrats control the Senate and Democrats control all of Congress. So the possibility of this legislation going forward to a degree, to a point beyond where it had in the past, is much higher than it was if we were having this conversation even a year ago.
Okay, so she's tried in the past and has failed. How much support have those past efforts? Obviously they weren't successful, but those past efforts, has she had a lot of Democrats sign on as co-sponsors or otherwise show support for this legislation?
In a shocking development, no, she has not. I mean, this is like two sports teams coming onto the field and there are no referees there. So the two teams look at each other and say, oh, all right, we'll call our own fouls. Well, what are they probably going to do? They're probably going to call as few fouls as they possibly can, knowing full well that if they start, beating up on the other team will have the ability to beat up on them. So in a way, there's sort of this detente in Congress where neither the Republicans nor the Democrats really seem particularly eager to do something that could result in self-harm, if you will. But Elizabeth Warren is trying to break through all that and say, no, this, in her opinion, is the right thing to do. It's the ethical thing to do. And she would very much like to see this happen, even if she's not exactly getting members of Congress to line up to co-sponsor this legislation or otherwise support it straight up.
Yeah. I have more questions, but let's just pause for a second and acknowledge that expecting them to take an action that would stop them from doing unethical things to personally enrich themselves seems like just one of those absurd wrinkles of American representative government Like that we would expect that they would obviously rise above their own personal financial concerns and do this. It seems crazy. It seems like the sort of thing that if it were to ever happen would only come in the form of some sort of constitutional amendment. But there have been other Democrats who have expressed interest in this. I mean, I don't know if you've personally reported on it, but I feel like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez often talked, especially during last year, where Senators Perdue and Loeffler were like they weren't even trying to hide it as representatives do, the linking up of the sync of their financial decisions and what was going on in the country. Has there been any signs that this most recent effort by Senator Warren might have more Democrats sign on as co-sponsors or supporters?
Yes, I should note that although there hasn't been many people lining up on the Senate side, that the last time, not this most recent, but the last time in 2020 that Elizabeth Warren tried to do this, she did have a House companion bill that was supported by several Democratic members of the House. So there's at least some initial support that's coming on the House side for this. The big question is there going to be enough support overall, not only to advance this bill, but to pass this bill and get both the Senate and the House to agree on a final piece of legislation that they could send to Joe Biden's desk. I think we are a long ways away from that at a time when, of course, bipartisanship can be rather elusive, and you may have some Democrats who are not necessarily thrilled with this. I should note that there are members of Congress who voluntarily do not trade individual stocks. They just simply don't do it. I've talked to many of them or their staff, and they said, it's just not something that we are going to do, that the member of Congress individually, and these are Republicans and Democrats, just opt out of the system altogether. They all certainly have that right, but there are plenty of examples on the other side, again, both Republicans and Democrats, who very much are sometimes even day trading and making stock trades that are happening every month, every week, even every day.
Yeah. Well, I know as part of your reporting, which everyone should check out, it's available at Insider right now. You looked into some of the recent financial moves of a few different representatives, Senator Burr, Senator Inhofe, and others. Was there anything that you found that raised, obviously not legal concerns? All of this is totally legal, but any ethical concerns or anything like that?
Well, the biggest one and the most notable one where several members of Congress have kind of gotten crosswise with standard notions of ethics or even potentially the law, it surrounds the COVID-19 pandemic. You had a number of senators, a small number, but still, several who were making very active trades right around the time that the pandemic was becoming a pandemic here in the United States, and major questions being raised as to whether they were acting on information that they were only privy to because they were members of Congress. They were going to special secret hearings that you or I were not able to attend, and then making stock trades in kind of a flurry of action right around February and March of 2020. And there have been members of Congress, too. You've mentioned a few. And also, too, on the Democratic side, most recently, Tom Malinowski of New Jersey, who have made trades that have been of companies that have a direct stake in the way that the pandemic is going to go forward. Biomedical companies, pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies, and just to name a few. So this is something that has gotten a few members of Congress in trouble. Richard Burr was under federal investigation for this. Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue of Georgia, no longer senators right now, having been booted out of office by voters. They also got wrapped in, and a few others too. So this is not an isolated problem. This is something that has happened not only to several people, but several times over the span of many months.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.